Hello, everybody, and welcome to It's Always Sunny in Hollywood, where talking about movies is the name of the game. I am one of your hosts, Patrick, and with me are my two co-hosts, Lugia and Red. Please introduce yourselves.
Oh, I am French cocksucker. Oui, oui, je m'appelle, or is it je suis? Whatever. I took like 8 years of French and I know nothing about it. Heidi ho, my name is Tintin. Nope, that's Belgian.
Anyway, that's Red. Lugia?
Uh, I've never taken a French course, so oui baguette.
I
oui,
remember
oui, je suis
I remember in
baguette.
high school I said I would like to take French, but then I learned that how you say words in French is nothing like they're spelt, so I'm like, yeah, no thanks.
Yeah.
I do
God,
want I do want to go to France one day though.
There's this one sentence in French. It's so funny because this is like it means like an entire sentence like in English, but to say it in French is like it's the most bullshit thing. I hated French class. Huh? I showed my dad the video and he was like, so that's why you always failed the vocal tests. I always did
Well,
well in the writing, but I always failed the vocal exam.
Well, if you're wondering why we're talking about France and French accents, that's because the subject of our movie today is from France. But before we get into that, let's breeze through some entertainment news quickly.
All right, so in Marvel news, the Shang-Chi trailer came out like a month ago. By the way, we're recording this well after a lot of our other thing. We kind of had a brief hiatus. A bunch of trailers came out. The first one of note is the Shang-Chi trailer, which new Marvel property. It's a kung fu movie. That's really all of note. Abomination from the 2008 Hulk movies in it, which is kind of cool because this is the first time they've ever acknowledged the 2008 Hulk movie.
I have not seen the Hulk movie, nor have I seen the trailer for this movie, so I can't comment
I
anything.
think I saw it like when it first came out, but I don't remember anything about it.
In more recent Marvel news, the Black Widow movie apparently comes out or it already came out.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna watch it. You guys gonna watch it?
I already saw it. I got an early screening.
Oh, so what'd you think of it?
I thought it was good, but keep in mind this was a very late screening. It was my first ever midnight screening, actually.
Oh, cool. I guess the most recent movie I saw in theaters was Fast and Furious 9. Are you guys familiar with the Fast and Furious movies?
I saw a
I've
couple of the
seen,
movies.
yeah, I saw a couple of them.
I think 7 was the last one I saw.
It's a very good movie. I think it's a big improvement from their last two entries, Hobbs and Shaw and F8. I would not recommend it to newcomers. This series has incredibly tight continuity, and I don't think a lot of the emotional beats would make any sense if you didn't know like the stuff going in. Like they reference, like you think that like since the movies only really got popular with 5 onward that they'd only reference 5 onward. Nah, most of this movie is referencing the first and the third movie. But yeah, it's got great action. Really brought the heart back. So I recommend it. 7 out of 10. Watch the other movies first, but definitely watch this one. I guess in a more recent, and one that you guys would actually care about, Hiromu Arakawa, the famed author of Full Metal Alchemist, has announced she is going to start a new series back at the same publication of Full Metal Alchemist, actually, and it is going to be fantasy.
So an original IP.
Yeah, well, I forgot she made a adaptation one, but yeah, another new fantasy IP from the person who made arguably the best or at least most popular anime of all time. Next to Fullmetal Alchemist is kind of like Avatar, where it's just a series that everyone loves, and any age can get into it. She basically created like a perfect series.
Yeah, because I think things like Dragon Ball and One Piece are more popular.
Yeah, One Piece is more popular worldwide. In America, the two most popular anime I'd say is like Dragon Ball and Naruto, unless you want to count Pokemon. In that case, Pokemon's the most popular anime in the world. Because Pokemon is the most popular series in the world.
Is that a fact?
It is actually, yes, the highest grossing franchise in the world. Do you know what the second highest is?
Mario?
Hello Kitty.
Huh.
I think I knew that.
Yeah, because
I
I
think I
told
saw
you
a
it the other
list.
day. Yeah, I told you that list the other day when I was at the beach. Remember?
Anyway, moving on.
Yeah. And number third is actually really interesting. It's Winnie the Pooh, which I didn't expect because
Huh.
I mean everyone knows Winnie the Pooh, but I didn't know it made that much money. And like then is Mickey Mouse, and then fifth is Star Wars, which of course Star Wars. It's Star Wars. So anyway, some video game news. They finally announced the Nintendo Switch Pro.
Well,
Cool.
what we thought
Well,
would be the Nintendo Switch Pro.
yeah, here are all the new features. It's got a new screen, which is actually a worse screen, and it's got an Ethernet cable.
Doesn't it also have an adjustable stand?
The
Yes.
stand is wider.
Yeah, but like
Mm.
yeah, the original Switch already had it, so now you got a wider stand. Whoopity doo da. I guess the Ethernet cable is kind of cool. Everything else is stupid. This is a terrible. Why even bother at this point, really? Jeff Bezos resigned, and he's apparently gonna take a rocket into space.
Just because?
Yep.
I mean, if
He
you have the
is.
money, why not?
Yeah, I mean that's literally the logic. He's the richest, one of the richest people ever. So might as well spend some of that. All right then, and today is the anniversary of when Robin Williams passed away. So rest in peace, Robin. You will be missed. Shoot, there was one person that passed away that I really want to talk about. Richard Donner. All right. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the legendary Richard Donner's work, but he is one of the greatest blockbuster directors of our time. He is probably most famous for creating the Superman movies. Obviously, it is the superhero movie. It basically paved the way for, well, the world we have now. So, all thanks to him. He is also known for directing all the Lethal Weapon movies. So, that's two big franchises under his belt. So yeah, Richard Donner. And also shout out to Conan O'Brien. He recently finally ended his talk show. He's gonna get a new show on HBO though, but it's gonna be apparently very different. Good luck, Conan. He was my favorite late night talk show host, and in my opinion, the only one still on the air that's worth a damn. I'm gonna consider this as part of the obituaries because late night is now dead. Anyway, let's talk about the movie now.
All right. So, The Walk was released in 2015 and was directed by Robert Zemeckis, who you probably recognize as having directed several well-known and beloved films, such as the Back to the Future trilogy, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Forrest Gump, Castaway, and The Polar Express.
Oh, forgot to mention, Richard Donner also directed The Goonies and Scrooged. Yeah. And I just remembered Scrooge because Robert Zemeckis directed Christmas Carol in CGI.
It all comes full circle.
He did a lot of CGI stuff in the 2000s.
But we're not talking about those. We are talking about The Walk. So this film is based on the true story of Phillipe Petit, a French wirewalker who, in the early 1970s, tightrope walked between the two towers of the World Trade Center. Question, were you guys at all familiar with this event?
I've heard of it before.
I heard about it, yes, once in like an art history class.
I remember I learned about this in elementary school. I remember one day we went to the library and we were read two picture books. I think one of them was called The Man Who Walked Between the Towers. I think that's where I first heard about it.
I don't remember that. I do remember learning about Hitler at the library. That came out left field, but like, that's the only book reading I remember from elementary school when they were just like, so, how many of you know what World War II is? And no one raised their hand, and then they're like, ah, Jesus Christ, this is going to be a rough lesson. So yeah, this is essentially a biopic, but a very unique biopic. Most biopics, you just sort of see the events of his life, but this is very neatly focused on a specific thing. And it's essentially actually a heist movie.
Basically, except they're not stealing anything. They're just trying to accomplish this crazy goal.
Technically, it's kind of vandalism.
I mean, they're breaking into.
They're breaking the law, but they're not harming anybody.
Yeah, it's more of like it's more like once they get into a. It's like, what if in Ocean's 11, once they got to the vault, they just start like juggling the money instead of like taking it home.
Essentially, that's pretty much the movie. It's
Yeah.
Very
Oh,
straightforward. It's all
fun
focused on
little
this guy trying to achieve this goal.
fun little behind the scenes thing is that when Robert Zemeckis heard about this story, he did not know it was a true story. He came across the picture book, the same one you were actually talking about, and he had no idea it was a real story. And then when he found out it was a real story, he was like, "I don't remember that," because he lived in New York in the '70s, so he was like, "I don't remember that happening." But yeah,
Actually, another fun fact is that the real life Phillipe Petit actually trained the main actor, Joseph Gordon Levitt, to walk on a wire.
yes.
That's
Speaking
cool.
of which, the
Yeah.
big some big name actors in here: Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Ben Kingsley. We'll talk about the performances. Actually, let's talk about the performances now. They were very good.
I thought Joseph Gordon Levitt was great.
Minor gripe, I guess, is that my God, well, one, I think Joseph Gordon-Levitt was a bit too enthusiastic about his accent, and Ben Kingsley, I don't think Ben Kingsley knew what accent to do.
Also, I don't know if you guys noticed,
It never
but
took me out, by the way. This isn't really criticism. It never took me out of it, but I don't know. It was just kind of funny.
It was kind
also
of
guys,
overacting. It was still good though.
Yeah, it was
guys,
entertaining.
I don't know if you noticed, but Sonic the Hedgehog, Ben Schwartz was in this.
Yes, I noticed.
Really?
Yeah, he was
Yeah,
Albert.
he had a
He had
he
the
looked a bit different because he have a beard or something, right?
yeah, he had a beard and like a goatee, I think.
Yeah.
And he was wearing glasses. Was he wearing glasses?
Uh, that might have been a different character.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Let's get into thoughts. Lugia, you start.
Okay. I was captivated by the beginning of this film with its use of black and white and how it
Oh,
used color only on very specific objects.
I thought the black and white was very interesting. It reminded me of Sin City because they had brief splashes of color in there.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, just to highlight specific objects for the audience to
Yeah,
attract their
Yeah.
attention towards.
yeah, I know. Yeah,
Speaking of color, good lord, his eyes are blue as hell.
yeah, I noticed that too. I'm like, holy crap, Joseph Gordon-Levitt has such blue eyes.
Yeah, but Joseph Gordon-Levitt doesn't actually have blue eyes in real life, so those were contacts. It's like, yeah,
To talk about the black and white for a minute, I really liked how the first few minutes were all black and white. I thought it could have gone on a bit longer. Um,
In fact,
one
they never
small,
do it again aside from the beginning.
yeah, one small criticism I have is the moment it fades to color feels very random. Like he just walks into the dentist's office and then it just changed. I thought like it would have made more sense if he like opened the magazine and saw the two towers. Then that would be the point when it fades to color. But no, he's just talking to the secretary, and I'm like, that's random.
yeah. So it doesn't go back to black and white, but there's a lot of scenes where he's sitting on the Statue of Liberty and like explaining stuff. What do you guys think of like those sort of talking head moments?
I thought that was a bit of an odd framing device. I mean, I didn't hate it. I just thought it was weird.
I thought it like looked weird. Like
They were
that's
only
the thing
used
that threw me
sporadically.
off.
They didn't last very
Yeah.
long.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like I thought the CGI there was a bit wonky. I don't know. It is kind of
Also,
funny. Like they do this trick a lot where he holds up like a string and then like they kind of use that to transition. Because like the wire is like I will put up my wire over there, and I'll put up my wire over there.
that's essentially the movie.
I am walking around and I see two pie places. I'm like, that is where I put my wire. Also, this man is crazy. Man didn't even know to like walk a wire and is like, I will walk a wire over there. And then like he just did it and didn't die. Like kind of funny that he fell down. He failed walking the lake and is like, I will redeem myself by doing the same thing, but from a distance that will kill me instead of just slightly embarrassing me.
Also, to speak one more thing about the opening, I noticed that the opening scene is kind of out of order and that it starts with him street performing, and then he sees the towers in the magazine, and then it kind of goes all over the place from like when he was a kid and his parents were like, oh my god, my son is a circus clown, and then he leaves, and then it's him with Papa Rudy. The opening was out of order, and like I didn't understand why.
I don't
You
know.
guys notice that?
I guess it was just
Yeah.
to get
Like
the
it starts,
focus of the movie out
but
of the
like
way.
it starts in black. It starts in black and white for when he's a performer, but then like it's color for when he's a kid, and it's color for the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
It was oddly edited.
Well, it becomes consistent after that. But
And I mean But that's really just a nitpick. Otherwise, I really don't have much else to complain about.
Yeah, I find this movie is very obviously a metaphor for filmmaking, but to be fair, almost all heist movies are. But I found like this, and I feel like almost every heist movie is a metaphor for filmmaking. But I've always found it interesting, like the differences, because like with Inception, for example, that more is more trying to make like talking about like the more of emotional resonance part of making a film, because it's like you're trying to plant an idea, like you're a filmmaker in like people's heads and stuff. And this one was more about the spectacle, which I find interesting because Robert Zemeckis throughout his whole career was trying to go for like jaw dropping. Like he was very much a special effects type director, with all of his movies got something awe-inspiring. The Back to the Future, though the special effects there were revolutionary for the time.
Yeah, there's definitely a few shots where I'm like, that is totally Robert Zemeckis. Like when he's first drawing the wire on the magazine, and it shows from behind the magazine.
Yeah.
When, him drawing the wire, like there was a shot in the Polar Express that was like that. Also, the scene where the metal wire is falling off of the towers and stops like right in front of the camera. I'm like, yeah, that's totally Zemeckis.
Okay, I find that's interesting because I was about to say that I feel this movie is very obviously shot for 3D. Because remember when like back in the early 2010s, every movie came out in 3D also.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell this was definitely trying to latch onto that gimmick because there are so many scenes where you'll have like an object come directly at the camera. You can tell that like that probably blew some people's minds when they wore the 3D glasses.
I feel very proud to say I am one of the few that saw this movie in IMAX 3D,
Ah, cool.
and it was amazing. I remember during the wire walking scene, my mom like held onto my hand for dear life because she's like, this is so intense.
Yeah. Yeah, this movie got better throughout the whole. I think it just kept getting better because like the beginning
Yeah.
parts, a bit weird, but then it got on track, became Sound High Smooth, and then the last half hour, that ass
The
act.
third act is where this movie really shines.
Yeah, that's
Like,
when shit
honestly,
gets real.
Mhm.
This movie is good enough just for the final act. Like, you don't
Indeed.
like the first like hour of the movie, that's fine. You will like the last half hour. It's kind of amazing that you can make something look that visually dazzling despite it being such a when you think about a mundane premise. I mean, this came out what year? 2015?
2015, yeah.
Like what other blockbuster movies were out 2015?
Um,
The
well, I mean,
Martian, Star Wars, Mad Max, and you know what? This is as awe-inspiring as some of the shit you saw in Mad Max and Force Awakens.
I gotta say, the digital recreation of the towers is very convincing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
finally kind of feels full circle because after 9/11, a lot of movies had to digitally remove the towers, and now they had to digitally add it.
Speaking of which, just out of curiosity, I checked out the documentary Man on Wire, which is about this, told through interviews of people actually involved in it.
Yeah.
This movie is like very accurate to it. Like, it like the only major things that aren't mentioned is that nowhere in the documentary is there a mention of anybody named Papa Rudy. So I don't know if he was just omitted for whatever reason, or if he was created for the movie.
Actually, I was gonna ask you about accuracy. Was it true that Philippe like saluted on the wire and just lied down on it, or was he
He
just
did.
walking back and forth?
He did lie down on the wire, and he
That's
did flip
fucking
positions.
insane.
I know, it's crazy. Like,
So is that weird little non sequitur where they just met like the random dude and he was like, "I never saw that man again in my life." Was that true?
That actually was not mentioned in Man on Wire, which is a bit of a weird inclusion. Like, I can believe it, but
Yeah, it was
it's
such
odd.
a weird inclusion. I thought it must be true just because it's
But
such a
it
non
wasn't.
sequitur.
It's
I mean, it might be true. It just might be like a weird
Maybe.
detail to throw in the documentary. But yeah,
I don't know.
Just
but-
for historical accuracy, maybe, if it did
Yeah.
happen at all.
And if you guys are curious, yes, he did take off all his clothes to try to find the string.
Huh.
And it did land on the edge of the tower.
This movie, like, I knew he wasn't gonna fall down, but man, like, they really made you feel anxious every time he got like close to an
Oh yeah,
edge.
the
Yeah.
scale and the scale and sense of depth in this movie is
Yeah,
amazing.
It didn't
I
help that
remember.
I'm not a fan of heights, so
Oh
having
yeah,
shots that
you
like
hate
face
heights.
down at the
Oh
city
my
from like a
god.
bird's eye view, that was just ugh.
I
Actually,
especially I want to say how like impressive it is because me and Lugia, we didn't see it in 3D, and we still felt like it was like we were there. So I saw this like on a computer screen, like a pretty big computer screen, but still a computer screen.
I want to say something. I forget what it was though. What were we talking about before?
The anxiety because
Oh
there's
yeah,
like
that. Here's the. I too also have a fear of heights. Um, I wasn't. There were a few shots where I was definitely like, oh my goodness, but like I never felt tempted to look away from the screen. There was one scene that I did look away from, and that was the scene where he steps on the nail.
oh
Oh
yeah, I
yeah.
remember
I
that.
remembered that when I first saw it, and I'm like, oh wait, it's coming up. I gotta look away. That was the one scene that caused me to look away
I was
because
not
it
expecting
goes
that.
it goes right through his foot.
Yeah, like
And
Jesus, I
that
stepped
and
on nail
that
before
and
too, and
that
it
did
was that
happen.
bad.
That did
Yeah,
happen in real life.
yeah. You guys ever
So
step
it's
on nail? Nasty shit.
no. So it's even more insane to think that he performed this act with like an injured foot.
Yeah.
And lived.
He's still alive to this day.
We mostly talk about Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Besides Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Ben Kingsley, and the man, and Annie. Oh, and also, shoot, who was the guy that sold them the fake? Was it JP?
Yes, JP.
Yeah, those four are the real standouts. All the other characters are kind of not really present. I mean, that one dude that like knew Philippe and helped them, get him in the tower. He was like kind of funny, but he was only there briefly, really.
Also
Um,
the guy who was afraid of heights. I feel
He
like
had a
he kind
little
of stood
bit of
out
a
a bit.
character arc. I think
Yeah.
I feel like those were just kind of like one
Yeah,
trait. A
but
lot
yeah,
of them kind of feel like pretty one note.
I do agree with you that outside of the main three, the other characters don't really stand out that much. I mean,
like
they
the
get the job
dude
done,
who's fucking high that he pussied out.
but I mean, they do get the job done, so they're okay. Um, to go back to the black and white for 1 minute, this I don't know if this would be like too much, but I think it would have been cool if the entire movie was in black and white. But when Philippe was like on a wire or something, then the movie would become color. I just
No,
think
that
that would
would
be.
have
I
been.
just think that would be cool, like to emphasize like what this
Yeah,
experience meant to him.
or
Uh,
maybe
Maybe that would have been
yeah,
too much, but I think it would have been cool.
or maybe like at least the Sin City thing was like black and white with some specific parts are in color.
Yeah.
Just
Or maybe as the movie went on, more color came in, like Pleasantville.
maybe.
I haven't seen
I don't
Pleasantville, but
see
that
how
sounds
that
cool.
would work unless I see it for myself.
Yeah, I did enjoy my time rewatching this film because I've been meaning to rewatch it for years, but man, this is just one of those movies you have to see it on the big screen.
Yeah, if
You
it
know,
ever,
unless you get motion sickness.
Yeah, which steer cautious, but yeah, this movie was not a big hit at the box office, and I'm not gonna lie, I can kind of understand why.
yeah, it made decent money, but it was a financial disappointment. Uh,
I can see two
when
reasons
did
as
this come out? Actually, when did it come out? Did it come out like in
October.
the
It came out in
fall?
October, around the same time as The Martian. So
Okay, so
yeah,
that makes sense. Everyone's going to see
yeah.
the
It also
Martian.
wasn't terribly marketed very well.
Yeah.
I remember I first learned about this movie in school. One of my friends showed me the teaser trailer, and I'm like, this looks so cool.
Oh yeah, and the Hunger Games Mockingjay, the Hunger Games finale came out that year too.
Yeah, it was
And
just
also
kind of
Star
in a
Wars,
sea
and
of
also
competition.
yeah, and Star Wars was a few months away, so you know.
Yeah. Yeah, 2015 was a crazier blockbuster
Yeah.
season, man.
But to be honest, outside of that, I think two other reasons why this movie didn't do very well is because one, it's a bit of a tricky film to recommend. I'm not gonna lie, because it's trying to simulate being up very high, ridiculously high, and like you got to be cautious of people who get motion sickness. Because as I told you guys, some people got sick in the movie theater watching this because it was so real. So
Um,
that, and I think another reason why this movie didn't do well is unfortunately the reality that we live in, that it's a movie about the Twin Towers,
yeah.
and it's it's hard to disassociate the unfortunate events of its demolition.
It's not a movie
Yeah.
about that, though.
I know, but it's hard to think of the Twin Towers without thinking about that. And it's nobody's fault involved in the movie. It's just this was several decades before and nobody knew.
Yeah.
But speaking of 9/11, the ending tribute was beautiful.
Yeah.
This movie, they paid tribute to the people without directly saying 9/11.
Yeah.
They just said I got a ticket for the observation deck and it lasts forever.
You know, I once talked to this man in college. He was because we went to community college, all of us. There's one person in my class. He was older man, and he was actually in the towers on 9/11, and he was one of
Oh
the
my.
survivors. Yeah, and he
My
told us
goodness.
a story about it, and was like, it was one of the most fascinating stories I've ever heard. It was really interesting. That shit was something else. The way he was talking about it was like, good lord. Oh jeez. Oh god. Okay. Now I just put an image in my head I did not want to put in. We're talking about the heights and shit, and now I'm remembering that people like jumped, and I was like, oh Jesus Christ, that is holy shit. That scares the shit out of me, man.
This movie does really capture the beauty of what those buildings were.
Yep. So overall, I think we would all recommend this movie.
I'd say this is a very underrated film.
Yeah, I'd give it a solid 7 out of 10. I really liked it.
I'd say if any film deserves to be re-released, it's this one. It's probably not going to happen, but
Yeah.
it deserves to be seen on the big screen. You know, if you can handle it.
Yep. I'd put it up with like Holes and, you know, those previous movies we talked about. I like it a lot. This is definitely a movie I'll probably show someone else in the future.
I'd
Maybe my
actually put
mom.
this
She'd probably
above
like it.
Apocalypse Now. I liked it that much.
Yeah, this ranks high for me.
Yeah, you put it at number 2. Damn. Right before Scott Pilgrim. Man, our lists are completely different. What the hell?
Well, I keep saying I don't put as much thought into these lists. I'm not as crazy about
No, I mean
ranking
like
as you guys
my
are.
list is completely different from Lugia's too. Like all
I
of our
know.
lists are completely
I
different.
know.
Like the
Oh,
one
yeah.
commonality we have is that we all ranked Pulp Fiction very high.
And we all ranked Furry Vengeance very low.
So yeah, The Walk. If you have the stomach for it, if you don't get motion sickness, I'd say check it out.
And if you like The Walk, some other movies you can check out.
Well,
First
check out Man on Wire, as I said,
check
the
out Man on
documentary.
Wire. Another documentary you can check out is Free Solo, which is about a similar crazy man. His crazy feat was trying to he basically did a rock climbing, but like free, no harness or whatever, and climbed like one of the highest things ever. Crazy, death-defying stunts similar like that. I'd also recommend some heist movies. Is Logan Lucky. It's got a similar, you know, good humor. Also, Ocean's 11, obviously, because it very clearly steals. I mean, well, not steals, but draws a lot from that formula. I'd say Inception, because it's got the similar filmmaking heist metaphor. I feel. Then The Man from U.N.C.L.E., which actually came out the same year as this and was also very underrated and also underperformed at the box office. But mostly because it's also got a very charismatic, very funny, and got a very spy espionage type deal to it. I recommend Fast and Furious 5, 6, and 7 because those are heist movies with crazy, awe-inspiring shit. I'd also recommend Mission Impossible 4 and Die Hard because those also have some really crazy anxiety scenes with very high heights. In fact, Mission Impossible 4 kind of scares me more because Tom Cruise actually did do that, and that man, Tom Cruise is fucking insane, man. He's gonna die in one of these movies. Like I'm confident. That's the Mission Impossible like 8 is gonna be like a movie where Tom Cruise dies. All right. Anything else?
I believe that's about it.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right. So time for my recommendation, I guess.
All right, what do you got?
So I wrote here that I was maniacally laugh, but I don't really feel like laughing. So it's gonna be a double feature because what I initially want to recommend turns out to only be like a half hour long. So I'm gonna double feature it. So the thing that is 100% locked in is Riley Rewind, which is the movie that Ray William Johnson of Equals 3 fame and Doing Your Mom fame directed around the time Equals 3 ended. And I also wanted to capture similar early ventures into YouTubers venturing into film. So I'm going to give you two an option. Do you want to rip off the Band-Aid and just watch Kick-Assia next? Or do you want to watch Twisted, the musical?
That's a tough call.
Well, what are the similarities between the two?
All three of
I
them.
mean, like compared to Riley Rewind.
All three of them involve basically early ventures at YouTubers trying to break into film with varying degrees of success. I'd say the Kick-Ass has a lot more similarities with Riley Rewind, but I'd say Riley Rewind and Twisted have much more similar production values because Twisted was funded via Kickstarter and Ray William Johnson is rich. Kick-Assia and Riley Rewind are more similar in the fact that they're made by YouTubers who also make very similar content, which is reviewing other content. So it's very interesting seeing people that made their entire careers off of other people's, viewing other people's works, sort of ventured into their own original stuff for once, which I thought would be an interesting idea to discuss, as well as the fact that they both basically created empires and essentially destroyed them.
You might call me crazy, but I think we should double up with Kickassia.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
All right. Okay.
All right.
So,
So yeah, we're
next
ripping off
week.
the Band-Aid.
Yep. Next week, Kickassia and Riley Rewind.
Rewind.
This is gonna go one way.
And that is it. This is our grand finale. Salute.
Okay.
Muy
Yes.
bien.
Okay. Yes.
Muy
All right.
bien
I got it.
Spanish.
I got it. I got it. I got it. All right. I salute the walk. I salute Phillipe Petit, and I salute the podcast.